This is the Atlanta Hawks. This is the Philadelphia 76ers. This is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is the San Antonio Spurs. And this is for you, Wemby. Yeah, that's right. That's damn fucking right. We put belt to ass to all of those stupid NBA teams who thought they could compete with us, and one of the greatest playoff runs we've ever seen. And that's saying something considering we watched the 2017 Warriors go 16-1. And while that run was great, they also didn't have a point differential of plus 283. The Knicks had 50 more points in the plus differential stat than the Golden State Warriors. And, you know, it's a team with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And yet, here we are, the Knicks' greatest playoff run in NBA history. We'll talk about the Knicks versus Spurs Game 5. We'll recap the finals as a whole. We'll get into some NBA rumors today. We'll be ranking the last 8 NBA champs because, as you know, we're in the parity era where last 8 years we've had 8 different champions. And then we'll get into our early 2026-2027 NBA power rankings. And then we'll talk some WNBA because, you know, it's about that time where the NBA is pretty much is done for the whole season. And, you know, got to talk basketball. So why not, you know, start talking about WNBA, hopefully get more coverage on that, and much more. So stay tuned and welcome to Boxes and Elbows. I am your host, Tyler, and yeah, let's just get straight into it. So the Knicks won the championship. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually saying that. For me, it still hasn't sunk in. The players, you know, said on, Good Morning America, it hasn't sunk in yet. As a fan, it hasn't sunk in yet. I haven't even, like, shed a tear yet, which is kind of crazy. And holy crap, we get to call ourselves NBA champions. Like, I was made fun of. I was literally made fun of when I was a little kid, even going into, like, middle school, high school about being a Knicks fan, even though, you know, you live in New York, so the majority of your friends are going to be Knicks fans anyway. But for the few people who weren't Knicks fans or who abandoned the Knicks because of how terribly they run, it was just bad times. I mean, from James Dolan, you know, being in charge and making all the decisions to, you know, messing up every single draft to basically tanking every season to not even get the number 1 pick. It was just bad overall. And to see the Knicks in Game 5 play the way that they did, with the resiliency that they did, to not fall into the trap of, oh, we're going to lose Game 5, and, you know, we want to close it out in the Garden on our home floor. And a lot of fans had that sentiment, and I was not one of them. The smart fans, the analysts, the people who actually, you know, genuinely want this team to win the championship and see that it's literally, like, right there, knew that the Knicks were going to win Game 5 and not have to go back to the Garden for Game 6, because at that point you're just playing with your food and you're risking for more injury. And I was saying this ahead of Game 5. I was like, I don't want this series to go longer because, number 1, anxiety, and number 2, you know, there's potential risk for injury the longer a series goes. And we all know how Wemby was playing. He was trying to injure people out there. And, you know, I mean, we just went to close game five, and I had this feeling in the air that the Knicks were not going to lose game five. I had that, like, every game they say the 0-0 mentality and, focusing on every possession, getting better next possession. And I could truly feel that the Knicks did not want to lose this game. Now, granted, Karl-Anthony Towns, had arguably his worst game of the entire postseason in a closeout game. But we're going to look past that because Jalen Brunson was sensational. Jalen Brunson had 45 points. He was hella efficient. He shot 14 for 27. So, game one, he scored 30 on 30 shots. Well, this game, he scored 45 on under 30 shots. 13-15 from the free throw line. I think he hit like 4 or 5 threes or something like that. And he just put the team on his back. I mean, from just, like every basket towards the end of the game and even in the beginning of the game, he was like, come on, guys. Come on. We're not losing this game. Like, I know we can't hit a basket. Literally, the first quarter, they scored 13 points, could not hit a basket. I think they were like 3 for 20 from the field. And as a fan, you're like, you're concerned because the shots aren't falling, but at the same time, there's shots that they're gonna make the rest of the game, and there's shots that they usually make, and so you don't anticipate the Knicks shooting that bad the entire game, and they were only down like 10 points. And I knew once the Spurs went up 16, I was like, I mean, the Knicks are basically down like by 2. 15 point lead in the series is basically nothing for the Knicks. And I was like, if we can get this down to like single digits by the half, which of course they were, and they did cut it down to 5 at the half, I was like, yeah, this is good. And you get like the Brunson thing, it's like he scored 45, but at the end of the game, he basically scored out every basket. He was driving to the basket, not even afraid of Wemby anymore. Earlier in this series, he would like drive and pull up for that little float or whatever because he knew Wemby was sitting there in the paint. Not this game. He literally, there was like 2 or 3 possessions in the final like 3 minutes of the game where he just straight up went at Wemby, had a little hesitation, got him off his back, drew fouls on threes, and one of the greatest closeout games performance-wise from a player since like Giannis in that game 6 where he scored 50 points. But yeah, no, this was one of those. There's no debate anymore. Ladies in 1A, and I want to watch this YouTube video that I saw of Jay Will saying that Brunson, like the caption of the video or the title of the video was Brunson should be the new face of the league. And I'm kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, would I go that far? But also, he's on the biggest market in the league. He's the best player in the biggest market. He's a small guard. He's easily marketable. No one in the league really hates him. Wemby kind of lost the face of the league title for now because of his finals performance and his immaturity. And so it's one of those like, why not Brunson, And you could throw out a lot of names, and for the face of the league, you could throw out Anthony Edwards, of course. You could throw out like Cade Cunningham, even though I think he's maybe like a year or 2 away from being that. You could still throw out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but like Brunson he has the market, he has the game, and he has the, I wouldn't say aura, but like he's like everybody loves him. Like he literally can't do anything wrong. He works so hard in the summers and even during the season to get to this point, and he's never satisfied. And I bet you literally like 3-4 weeks from now he'll be like, okay, it's time to win another championship, and I'll believe him. I'll ride with him until his contract expires and he's no longer a Knick. So whatever he says and whatever he wants to do, I'll believe him, and I will ride with him until the end. So if he says, "Hey, we're gonna try to win another one next year, and here I want these players, and I want to bring these players back, and I want to do this and that," I'll be like, "Sign me up. I ride with JB all the way." Um, and yeah, just to score 40, to literally have his best game and to close that game, like he was, I wouldn't say ass the entire series because that's literally me being an ass for saying that. But like he didn't have efficient games. He didn't have he didn't go off on games like we thought he would eventually. Um, and scoring 30 is not going off for him. He could score 20 and a quarter, so 30 is really nothing. So, and I knew he was on that shit when he had like 15 in the first half, or 15 or 16 in the first half. He had like half of their points. And I was like, oh shit, we're going to get a 40-point game from Brunson. But will it be enough because the Knicks can't hit shots? And eventually the shots started to hit a little bit. And once those started to hit, it was too much for San Antonio because you still had Brunson going at you. And I'll talk about the play on Wemby because that could have been really, really bad. But I also just wanted to talk about OG because while he didn't have the greatest game today, he played great defense. He used 5 fouls, which are all decent fouls. And he had that late dunk at the end, which they overturned because Vassell put his hand through the net. So that was really a clutch basket. And oh yeah, and he hit the game-winning free throw. That like literally, the score was 90-93. It was at the free throw line with 7 seconds left. One free throw to basically end the game because the Spurs had no timeouts, and he splashed that bitch. And his defense is always going to be great. We're never going to talk about OG and talk bad about his defense, but it's the offensive leap, not just this playoffs, but this entire season. I mean, this entire season he averaged like 17 points per game, which is probably like a career high. He shot like 38% from three, 40 something percent from the field, like 48% from the field or something. And that's the special thing because we know we're getting the defense. So if you get the offense with it, he's basically like Kawhi Leonard. Like that's all the comparisons I was seeing online was he's a baby Kawhi, and at some point you'd have to be a jackass to say that early on, but like he's literally showing you that he can. And the game-winning tip that he had reminds you of the doink to doink that Kawhi had, where that shit bounced like 5 times on the rim to win a game 7. And we would not be in this position without OG. Literally, if he misses that tip, or he doesn't tip it in at all, we're talking about a 2-2 series and Knicks going up 3-2, and there's still being another game. And just absolutely incredible. And I don't even, like, if you're watching the YouTube version or the video version of this, I don't know how I'm keeping my emotions in check because I thought I would see a Yankees championship before a Knicks championship. I thought I'd have kids before I see a Knicks championship. For me to see it while I'm 21 years old is insane, considering like 4 years ago they weren't even in the playoffs. From 4 years not being in the playoffs to winning a championship is kind of crazy. And it's not a stat, but it's like since Brunson got here, we've done better every season. From the first season he was here, we lost in the second round to Miami in 6. Then the year after that, we lost in the second round in Game 7, so we won one more game. Then the third year, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost in 6, so we won, 3 extra games. And in this season, we won 6 extra games. And we're coming back with Larry O'Brien. Now, of course, I got my merch. I got a shirt. I got a Jalen Brunson Funko Pop, which I will show you guys when I get it. And I know this is going to sound super duper corny, and I really don't give a shit if it sounds corny or looks corny. But I got myself a championship replica ring. Now, obviously, we don't know what the ring looks like. We like the ring ceremony isn't until October, so we'll never know what the ring looks like until then. But of course, they have these things ready because as soon as the finals starts, or as soon as the Eastern Conference Finals ends and Western Conference Finals ends, they start making merch. And they start printing out these things and having designs for these things, so that like as soon as that buzzer sounds off, the things go online and people can just do it with a click of a button, which I think is really cool. And I'll show you guys the ring. It looks super duper dope. I think the actual ring will look way better than the ring they have, but considering how good the ring I got looks, if the actual ring does look better, holy shit. I mean, we're talking huge ass ring with probably the Empire State Building or Statue of Liberty on it, the Knicks logo, and 2026 NBA champs, and it's gonna be insane. Now, I did talk a little bit earlier about Cat's foul trouble, and he only played 25 minutes in this game. Early foul trouble, and honestly, the foul calls on him. See, the thing with Cat is he doesn't. When he uses his fouls, it's not like he uses fouls, smartly. He picks up these dumb, like fouls. Sometimes it's offensive fouls where he's hooking. Other times it's just dumb, like jumping up in the air and not staying on your feet when he knows he's 7 feet tall, and you can just, if you go straight up, it's gonna be a contested shot regardless. And it just frustrates you as a Knicks fan because in a closeout game, you kind of want to see Cat on that bully shit, and he's been doing that the first two games, and then after that, it kind of just disappeared, which is kind of sad because I think after the first two games, it was arguably Karl Anthony Towns as the Finals MVP, and they ended up giving it to Brunson. Which, what a season, by the way! Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Finals MVP, championship, NBA Cup championship, All NBA second team. Uh, Arguably should have been in the MVP race. Definitely wasn't going to win it, but definitely should have been top five, top six. But that's, people tried to convince me that, Cade was better. But, those people look like jackasses now because, Cade is definitely not better than Jalen Brunson. And the saying, it's time to be better than Jalen. If it's everybody's better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. And that statement could not be more true. And I think going into next season, there's no way you don't have him as a first of all, a top 3 to 4 point guard in the whole league, and a top 10 player in the league. There's just no way you can have him. But getting back on the Cat foul trouble, he fouled out in this game, which is the first time all postseason. I think the first time as a Knick in the playoffs. I don't think he fouled out at all last postseason either. And for us to win the game when he had, obviously 6 fouls and he only had 2 points. He shot 1 of 7 from the field, and the one field goal he had was a turning around fadeaway jump shot to end the shot clock. And it just wasn't a great Cat game. And so as a Knicks fan, as someone who's just a fan of Cat in general, and people who are fans of Cat, you just didn't want to see this in a closeout game, because if the Knicks had lost, God forbid, then it would have been literally all on him, because everybody else was doing their job, whether it was like helping the team win or, Jalen Brunson putting the team on their back. He just let the team down. And I was saying this during the game when he fouled out, I was like, you're just letting Jalen Brunson down. You're letting your partner in crime down. I mean, it's just kind of sad to watch. And it's kind of funny because in the post game, he was talking about how his defense this game, helped us win. And I was like, well, I don't know about that, sir. Fouling is kind of a part of defense. So, yeah, it wasn't a great Cat game. But, all that's overlooked because we won the championship. So, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter at all. No one's gonna give a shit. I certainly don't give a shit about it. But it's just a talking point because it is what happened. So, And then, yeah, the Spurs inexperience hit yet again. And they had a 16-point lead in this game and they fumbled again. And I think their inexperience comes from the fact that they start these games so fast with so much energy with like, and they're not the most steady team. Like, I feel like the most steady team wins the games where it's like you may have a bad quarter or two, but if you're like, keeping yourself in the game, doing the right things to, give yourself a chance, then at the end you just close the deal. And I feel like the Spurs put way too much energy in the first quarters of these games, and they honestly did that the entire postseason. We even saw it against OKC when they had those one or two games where they started off 15-0, 15-2, and they actually lost the game that they started 15-0. I think that was game 3. Yeah, game 3. And so they're going to learn that the games aren't won in the first quarter just cuz you're up by 16 points like at some point in the first half doesn't mean you could take your foot off the gas. And they just take too many dumb shots down the stretch. I mean, De'Aaron Fox went from being clutch player of the year 3 years ago to arguably being the worst clutch player we've seen in the finals history. Um, and yeah, they're just gonna learn from it. Uh, and also they're gonna learn from the immaturity of not shaking hands after the game, which I thought was really weird. But then again, I think they were all just following Wemby. And, Luke Cornett, once a Knick, always a Knick. Luke Cornett, once a Knick, always a Knick. Shook hands with everybody. And and Harrison Barnes, who's a seasoned vet, and he's just a great guy. You can literally not hate on Harrison Barnes ever in your life. So, even though he did cost the Warriors a championship by being bad, but that's on the court stuff. If we're talking off the court and personality wise, Harrison Barnes is as good as it gets in the league. And yeah, we're just gonna be talking about Wemby in a negative light for the next like 2 or 3 months. And we're gonna see how he responds next season, what he comes out with, his mentality, if he gains weight, puts on muscle, all that sort of stuff that he needs to do in order to not be, schemed against easily, because that's really what the league is going to do. They're just going to be super physical with him. They're going to try to get in his head. They're going to try to, basically rage bait him into flagrants. I mean, this guy is literally the king of flagrants because he flails his elbows everywhere and he tries to, hurt our players. And I don't think I mentioned this in the last episode, but there was a play in game 4 where he literally tried to stomp on OG's ACL. And it's one of those plays where I'm talking about it and you watch the video and it may look controversial, but no, this was, he straight up lunged with his 6 feet legs and tried to stomp on OG's ACL and missed. And so all of that is just bad karma. And yeah, the Spurs are going to learn from this. They're going to learn that the Knicks just had more grit, more heart, were the more steady team, and they actually have a closer that they can rely on every single game. In the 5 minutes or less in the game, and the game was within 5 points, give the ball to Jalen Brunson, and good things usually happen. And there's a video going out there of, what Jalen Brunson in the clutch this series, and, adding up all the shots versus attempts versus makes, and, he only shot 42%. But he also hit 14 shots in the clutch this series. And he also generated good looks in the clutch pretty much every time in the series. And he also just genuinely just was clutch. The shots he hit either won us the game or put us in a really, really good position to win the game. So for all the haters out there that want to hate on, our run and how clutch we were, the stats prove it. The eye test prove it. You can't deny it. And I also was watching a video on TikTok of this guy explaining that he was a Celtics fan and why it's good for the NBA that the Knicks are winning. And it's because the ratings are up, and it's just good for the league when the Knicks are winning because you get so many hate watchers out there who want to, hate watch on the Knicks, and it just brings the views up. And when a big market team like the Knicks are winning and are in the finals, it generates so much revenue for the league that they probably don't even know what to do with that money. And you're kind of okay with the Knicks being in the not the second apron next year because we know how good this team can be, and we know that next year they should be favorites out the East. We'll get into that later. Um, they should be, a team that tries to resign all their bench players. It would be really, really sad if they let any of their bench players go that are on one-year deals, such as Alvarado, Clarkson, Shamit, and Mitchell Robinson is not on a one-year deal. His contract expires from his extension that they gave the Knicks, or that the Knicks gave him. But we're hoping to re-sign him. He's definitely gonna have suitors. I don't think it's hard to say that he's a starting level center just because I don't think he can play more than 25 to 30 minutes a game. But also, as a starting center, you don't really need to play 40 minutes a game. Like, even like Rudy Gobert as a starting center, he doesn't play more than 35 minutes a game. So, the only thing about Robinson is he can only play in short stints. But if I'm a team like the Hornets, I'm looking at Mitchell Robinson, like, and I'm like, I should be throwing all the money at him, like, to try and get him. Because he's a lob threat for LaMelo. Defense, we obviously know how good defensively Mitchell Robinson is. And for a team like the Hornets to get extra possessions from Mitchell Robinson is so deadly because you have LaMelo, you have Khan, you have Brandon Miller, who all will capitalize on those second chance opportunities. And that offense from the Hornets would be basically unguardable at that point. So if I'm a team like that, if I'm a team like the Raptors, I look at Mitchell Robinson. If I'm the Lakers, definitely Luka and Mitchell Robinson would do wonders for their team. And it's kind of crazy. Speaking of Luka, because I had a dream last night that the Lakers had won the championship and that Luka got Finals MVP, and it felt so damn real because I was like, "Holy shit, Luka just actually did it!" Like he actually, silenced all the people who said that he couldn't win a championship. And then I remembered that he was probably just Brunson in my mind, but like my mind is all over the place right now, considering the Knicks just won a damn championship. And so I don't know what that dream even meant or why it even happened, why I was dreaming about Luka winning a championship. But it was a weird dream. I don't even remember if LeBron was on the team or not. I All I remember is seeing Luka in a Lakers jersey hosting a Larry O'Brien trophy, and I don't know. Um, and then we're gonna get into the Knicks versus Spurs, just the finals recapping as a whole. And there are a lot of different storylines that can go into this series. A lot of different players, rewrote their sort of perception in the league. And I want to talk about Cat first because as much as I was getting on Cat earlier about his foul trouble in Game 5 and him talking about his defense, which wasn't really great in that particular game. But this entire playoff run, his defense has been amazing considering how anemic his defense was previously. And that's something that we're always going to, not always, we're going to talk about his defense every, playoff series. And every big that he goes against is going to be like, oh, okay, Cat might get in foul trouble. And, his defense as a rim protector, do you want your center being Karl-Anthony Towns as a rim protector? And he's shown that he can hang with anybody. He can play good one-on-one defense, and he can protect the rim. And these are all question marks that he had going into this playoff specifically. Because last year, while he was great offensively last playoffs, his defense was really, really bad. And Honestly, it cost us losing that Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers. But his defense this entire playoff run was absolutely incredible. And I was talking to my dad last night, and we were talking about the Knicks' chances next year and in the future with this core. And I was like, if Karl Anthony Towns can hold his own against Wemby, who can't he hold his own against? We even saw him hold his own against Jokic like 2 years ago. So who's to say like whatever center the Knicks go against in the playoffs next year, or big, or just any team, who's to say Cat can't dominate? Like, I mean, obviously he can. We know he has the talent to, but now we're seeing that he has the mindset, the mentality, the want to, the you know, the lock in to actually like step up and you know play the center position how we wanted him to play the center position for so long. And I know Minnesota fans are probably kicking themselves because while he was a Timberwolf before that playoff run against Jokic that one year when they went to the conference finals, before that he was just bad and looked like every game he was fouling out. And you were, as a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, you were like, can we win with Cat as our center? And that's kind of why you got Rudy Gobert to double down on the big position, and it worked. And then as a Knicks fan, we were like, we're reverting back to Towns without a competent center, and we saw it work. We saw him win a championship. His defense has been just stellar. And going to next year, I'm just like, well, what team is gonna face a challenge for the Knicks? Like, what team is gonna challenge us? Like, I don't know. Like, he can hold his own against Wemby. I mean, obviously, if whatever team Giannis goes to, Giannis is different than Wemby because Giannis literally attacks the rim, and that's all he does is just bulldoze his way to the rim, which Wemby doesn't do. But confidence in this team and Cat, all time high for sure. And speaking of Cat, the trade that the Knicks made, sending Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to the Timberwolves, and the other trades that the Knicks made, it's just an example of when you're a team and you go all in and it pays off, everything looks so much better. Because the Knicks did go all in. They traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, which, F them picks. They didn't go all in on Jalen Brunson, but they also gave him the amount of money that pretty much no other team would. So I would consider that going all in on Jalen Brunson as your, cornerstone. I wouldn't say they went in all on Josh Hart, but trading Cam Reddish away was kind of a steal for the Knicks. And Cam Reddish is not in the league anymore, and he wasn't that good. But yeah, the Knicks literally went all in. They re-signed Bridges, re-signed OG Anunoby, and they had to let go of Isaiah Hartenstein because of it. Went all in on Cat, and we knew this team was going to be hell of expensive this year and are going to be hell of expensive next year. And, they capitalized on it and they won a championship. And even Brunson himself went all in by taking $100 million, pay cut so that they could re-sign Bridges. They could keep Anunoby and Cat together on the same team with max contracts. Because God knows if Brunson, opted into the contract that he deserved, my God, this team would probably be the most expensive team in the league. Because in 2027, Brunson is eligible for a 5-year, $300-something million contract, which is like $60-something million a year. And then I know Cat is also eligible for a 4-year, $272 million contract, something like that, which is like pretty much $70 million a year. So you would have Brunson making $60 million. You'd have OG making $40 million. You'd have Cat making $60 million. That's like almost $200 million right there between 3 players. And we're gonna see if them going all in can, if they can win multiple championships because, I was watching the presser from Mike Brown at the beginning of the season from way back when, and he was talking about, bringing a winning culture, which they already did, and bringing home multiple championships. So we'll see if the Knicks can come into next year with that mindset of we're not satisfied with one. We know with this core we can win one, so we can definitely win two. So it'll be interesting. And then from a finals perspective, this series was definitely either a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And even though it went 5 games, I mean, every single game was clutch. Every single game had the moments of just a great finals game, whether the Spurs won the 29-point lead, which sucks for them, but it also made for the greatest comeback in NBA history from the Knicks' perspective. Um, in game two, the Wemby, blunders, it just made for an epic game. Game one, epic game, Brunson taking over down the stretch. Game three was even still a close game, and you had the storylines of, first game back at MSG in the finals in 27 years. All the stars were out. Everybody was there, including he who shall not be named, who coincidentally, that's the only game he attended, and we lost. So I don't think that is a coincidence at all. And even game five came down the wire. And it's funny because the Spurs had double-digit leads in all of these games, even were leading in every game with 2 minutes left in the game and still lost 4 out of 5. And they easily could have lost game three because even when they were up 7, they were still giving the Knicks chances to win. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing really bad you can say about this finals. Even the matchups, Cat versus Wemby. I wouldn't call Brunson versus Fox a matchup because, well, I mean, let's be real here. That's not a real comparison. But you could get like the wings of the Knicks versus the guards of the Spurs. It just delivered in every single way you would want a finals to, just be remembered by. And yeah, I already gave it a 9.5 to a 10 out of 10. And also, this is the first finals where it features 2 teams from the NBA Cup. And the Knicks are the first team to win the NBA Cup and the NBA Championship, which will incentivize teams to actually, care about the Cup. And the Cup games will actually be more important because teams will realize that, hey, seeing a team in the Cup could potentially be a finals matchup or a playoff matchup. And I don't think the Knicks played the Cavs or the Hawks or the 76ers in the Cup, like any of the Cup games, if I'm not mistaken. But the Spurs, they definitely did play. And even during the regular season, they were 3-1 against the Spurs. And it's kind of crazy because the Knicks beat the Spurs in that Cup game, but you would think that you would see a lot more of the Spurs knowing the Knicks game plan. But also then again, no, the Knicks game plan was so different from the NBA, from when they won the NBA Cup. And I think when they won the NBA Cup, Gershon Yabusele was still on the team. So yeah, no, definitely not the same teams. Even Sohan was on the Spurs during the NBA Cup. But yeah, I'm kind of glad the Knicks also didn't raise that Cup banner because that shit didn't mean anything. And we wanted to, hang the real banner, which we get to hang now. And yeah, teams will definitely pay attention to the Cup more. The NBA will probably make adjustments to the Cup going into the future, knowing that it could, literally be a finals matchup. And yeah, the finals was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Couldn't have scripted it better. Obviously, it wasn't scripted in a literal sense, but yeah, just an amazing finals, and we brought home the chip. Now, fast forwarding to next season, and a lot of NBA rumors that are going on about different players and different teams being interested in different players, and Just it's just been crazy because, well, let's just get straight into it. Giannis. I know everyone's tired of hearing Giannis stuff, and obviously he wants to go to the Heat. The Heat is like, or on the top of his list as far as teams he wants to go to, and the Heat probably have the best package, I would say, overall. But like the Celtics also have, Jalen Brown, but they're also saying that there could be a third team involved, like Portland, where I think Portland has Milwaukee's picks, and they could send over, Jeremy Grant, Shaden Sharp, and the Blazers can get Jalen Brown, which would low key, I would like that. They're also saying Atlanta could get involved by taking on Jalen Brown, which I would also like that for them as well. Uh, and it's very possible you could see Jalen Brown being moved based on all the rumors, and the Celtics wanting to basically say, hey, Jason Tatum is our guy. He's our 1A, and we can build around him still. And it's interesting to see because if they do trade for Giannis, is Tatum still the 1A? Like, let me know. I'm genuinely questioning it because to me, Giannis and Tatum are on the same tier of players. Tatum is like maybe like a year or two younger, so maybe you could go there. But also he's coming off an Achilles, so I feel like that should add an extra 2 years to his age naturally. So they're basically the same, although because they both have a ring, they both have Giannis is a Finals MVP, but and a DPOY, and was also looked at as the best player in the world for like a year or two, where Tatum wasn't. They both have All NBA first team awards. Yeah, I don't know. It would definitely be a super dynamic duo, and it would give the Celtics a different look because with Missoula ball, they all shoot threes, and when it comes down to clutch and actually trying to get to the basket, uh, they don't really do a good job of that. And I firmly believe if Tatum played that game 7, they would have won. And the series against the Knicks would have been way more interesting than the 76ers against the Knicks. Knicks still would have won that series, obviously, but it would have been way more interesting. But if I'm like the Knicks, if I'm, yeah, like if I'm the Knicks, do I really fear Giannis and Tatum as a duo in Boston? Because, like, yeah, Giannis is obviously better than Jalen Brown, but also, yeah, I don't know. As a Knicks fan, I'm not going to fear any team at this point because we've seen them be down 29 in the NBA Finals and still win. So, like, naturally, you just can't fear any team. But I'm just curious to see what team would take on Jalen Brown. Where would Giannis end up? Celtics or Heat? And what other third team could get involved? And honestly, I'm not even probably not even gonna talk about Giannis stuff until he actually gets moved. So we're just gonna see what happens. There's also trade rumors involving De'Aaron Fox, which I don't know. Like I do know why the Spurs would do that, especially if you can get like two or three more rotation players that can actually play and have experience. But also, you could just run it back with De'Aaron Fox, get him healthy because he clearly was not healthy, and just run it back with the same roster and just develop that way. Because it's not like the Spurs lost in the first round. They made the NBA Finals, and analytically, they actually could have won the finals. Like I was saying this last episode, like literally, if you look up the analytics and if you look at the games and even the eye test, you could see the Spurs clearly should have won at least three of these games. Maybe you can account for the Knicks being incredibly clutch that they would at least, pulled out one of those games that the Knicks or the Spurs had a lead. But bare minimum, this should be going to like game 6 or 7. But Yeah, I don't know, because De'Aaron Fox is he signed the contract to make this contract was like 4 years, 220, which on the back end of that deal, oh my god, I can't speak today. Holy crap! On the back end of that deal, he's making $60 million. If you're the Spurs, do you want to be paying De'Aaron Fox $60 million? Love Fox, not worth $60 million. Not even worth $50 million. I'd argue he's barely even worth $40 million. I'd say he's worth like $30 to $35 million. But because you still have to pay Wemby, of course, and Wemby's gonna get like a $700 million contract. You still have to pay Castle and Harper down the line, and you're gonna have to, start Harper eventually. And I was seeing some people say that you should just bench De'Aaron Fox next year, which I feel like you can do next year, but like if you're gonna keep him for the entirety of that contract, you can't bench him the entirety of that contract because you can't have $50 million, $60 million coming off the bench. That's just optically that's bad, and for team construction wise, that's just bad. And so I would personally just run it back next year. And in my mind, I had a mock trade that would send De'Aaron Fox to the Cavaliers, and the Spurs would get back Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is better than De'Aaron Fox. Donovan Mitchell is a closer. If you give him the ball late in games, he will close. He doesn't choke. Well, I can't say that. He has choked, but not this bad. And also, I feel like Donovan Mitchell would be a better fit with Wemby, because I feel like the Spurs are one dynamic scorer away from actually, winning the whole thing, because De'Aaron Fox is not a dynamic scorer. Castle's not a dynamic scorer. Harper is a dynamic scorer, but like you're gonna need more than Harper. And Wemby's not a dynamic scorer. He's just really skilled, but he's not that player that can get like 30 and a quarter or anything, like, or 30 and a half, or like, yes, he can get 30, but it's not gonna optically, like, Donovan Mitchell is a dynamic scorer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to watch Donovan Mitchell to actually see what I'm talking about. But that's one trade. There's another trade that's going out there that you send De'Aaron Fox to Houston and you get back Kevin Durant if you're the Spurs. And honestly, if I'm the Rockets, why would I do that? If I'm the Spurs, hell yeah, I'd do that, because that's Kevin Durant first and foremost. And Kevin Durant and Wemby would just talk about dynamic scorer. Kevin Durant's the best dynamic scorer we've ever seen in this league. So pairing him with Wemby would be just nasty. And it wouldn't really hurt anything because, number one, Kevin Durant's not a guard. He's a forward, so you can put him in the starting lineup and not have to worry about the logjam of guards. And then you could easily start Harper. Your starting lineup next year would be Harper, Castle, Vassell, Durant, Wemby. And I firmly believe if you have Kevin Durant in that series against the Knicks, oh man, the Knicks would have had a lot of issues. I mean, they already did have a lot of issues because they were down in every game, but the Spurs definitely would have won that series if they had Kevin Durant. Just saying. The only thing you can really squint your eyes and be like, if you're the Spurs, is Kevin Durant is going to be 38, and you risk not having him for some part of the season. But also, De'Aaron Fox was kind of hurt this season too, so I don't know. But yeah, if I'm the Rockets, I'm like, yeah, we do need a guard, but not at the expense of Kevin Durant. Um, but yeah, I just don't know what the Spurs are gonna do next offseason, because they obviously have to get better, have to get more experience, and you have to figure out the Harper, Castle, Fox situation with the three guards. And yeah, there's not much more I can say on that. We'll just see what they do in the offseason. Austin Reeves. Let's talk Austin Reeves. Brooklyn. Brooklyn is wants to give Austin Reeves the bag. Will the Lakers match? I don't know. I mean, they probably will, but it also depends because you don't want like almost half of your salary cap going to Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic when you're trying to build a championship roster. And especially knowing that defensively that backcourt has its liabilities. So you're going to want to surround the team with defenders, which I feel like 3-and-D wings and good defensive centers are at a premium in this league. We see it with the Knicks. We see it with the Spurs. They have perimeter defenders all over their team. We see it with OKC. We even see it with the Celtics. The Celtics just have guys who can just defend and hit threes. And so if you're the Lakers, you're going to try to follow that blueprint, especially knowing that you have Luka on your team who can close games and be the difference maker in a series. So, yeah, if you do let him go to Brooklyn, if you're a Lakers fan, are you just going to still be an Austin Reeves fan? Or are you going to be shitting on the Lakers for letting him go? Or are you going to be happy that he got his bag? Because the Nets can not arguably, they can offer him a lot more money than the Lakers can, considering the Nets have so much money in cap space, and they have nothing to lose by giving Austin Reeves that big of a contract because they're gonna suck anyway. And so you bring in Austin Reeves, sell more tickets. You try to maybe not build around Austin Reeves because that's maybe going a little too far, but you try to build a competitive roster where Austin Reeves is the starting point of that. And it'd be kind of cool to see him in Brooklyn, but I would personally like him in LA, and I like him next to Luka. I think that backcourt is going to be really good for years to come if they re-sign Austin Reeves. And I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, that's really all. I don't know what other team could really try to throw out money for Austin Reeves that would make sense other than Brooklyn. So yeah, there's that. LeBron. Let's talk LeBron. Speaking of Lakers, according to Rich Paul, 10 to 12 teams have called for LeBron James. And nobody knows what those 10 to 12 teams are because Rich Paul doesn't want to say, because I think that's arguably tampering, and also you don't want to give the other teams that are calling for him leverage. So you just kind of, if you're a team that's calling, you kind of just, basically competing with yourself. And there are teams that can throw the bag at LeBron, like Brooklyn, obviously. Cleveland can try and, sign and trade for LeBron if he wants to go there. The Warriors can sign and trade for LeBron. So there's a lot of options. I personally don't know what 10 teams would do, like 10 teams for LeBron James. Like, what are those 10 teams other than the 2 or 3 teams I just named? Like, are the Kings looking at LeBron? Are they calling in on LeBron? Are the Grizzlies calling in on No, they're not, because he literally shit on Memphis earlier. Are the Jazz calling about LeBron? Hell no. Are the Rockets calling about LeBron? No. Like, what teams are calling him? I swear to God, no. No. The Knicks, don't even entertain that. Don't. Because is LeBron signing for a vet minimum? Probably not. So yeah, just don't even look that way. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what those 10 to 12 teams are. But also, I'm not saying Rich Paul is a liar, but he also likes to over exaggerate situations when it comes to LeBron. So I don't really know what to believe or what to think about this. Other than that, it's just thrown out there that teams are calling for LeBron. And that kind of means that he wants to stay with the Lakers, but only if he gets the bag with the Lakers, which is probably not going to happen because they want to prioritize the Luka timeline instead of the LeBron timeline. So I don't know. Minnesota Plan B, Kyrie Irving, John Morant. Kyrie Irving makes sense, but also Dallas came out a couple days ago and said they're planning to keep Kyrie. Don't call the phone for Kyrie because Dallas wants him to be a mentor to Cooper Flag, and they're still going to try to be relatively competitive in the West, probably like a play-in team. So I don't know. It does make a lot of sense though. Kyrie Irving, Anthony Edwards backcourt would be nice. If you're Dallas, what would you want in return? You'd probably want Rudy Gobert. You don't want Julius Randle. And the Timberwolves are saying Jaden McDaniels is untouchable, which I think is kind of crazy in a sense. Because if you're trying to prioritize Anthony Edwards because you know that in like 3 or 4 years he might want to ask out if the team doesn't do well at all, and especially seeing Karl-Anthony Towns win a championship, you kind of want to do whatever's necessary to, please Anthony Edwards. And I feel like getting Kyrie Irving would do that. And if we had to get rid of Jaden McDaniels to do that, maybe. But also the part of him being untouchable was the whole Giannis thing where you would have to send Jaden McDaniels in a Giannis trade. But since that fell out, now it's like you're setting that bar for Jaden McDaniels now. It's either Giannis or nothing. And so since it's not Giannis, then it's just nothing. So you're just gonna keep him. But the most valuable assets the Wolves have are Dante DiVincenzo, who's hurt, and Rudy Gobert. Randall's not really a valuable asset, even though they're trying to trade him. I don't really view him as a valuable asset in that sense. Like, what teams would actually want Julius Randle? I don't know. And the Timberwolves don't really have many more assets than that. Johan Berenger, they said, is untouchable too. So, yeah. And if I'm the Wolves, definitely try to re-sign Ayo Dosunmu. Do whatever you can to do that. Or else he'll probably just be a Bull next season. Wouldn't mind it. But Ayo played so well in the playoffs that you just kind of have to keep him. And he's so good offensively and defensively that having him next to Anthony Edwards is just... Because I think Ayo might start next season because Dante's hurt. So we'll see what the Minnesota plan B is. Oh, yeah, John Morant. If you can get John Morant for the cheap, why not? I mean, if you have to trade away, I don't know, Kyle Anderson, going back to the Grizzlies, that's funny. Who else did the Wolves have off the bench? Oh, well, you're not sending Naz Reid. John Morant's trade value is so low that it's like you can pretty much get away with sending anything to the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies are trying to retool, rebuild. So they're just gonna try to ship off John Morant. But also, I don't know because it's taken this long for them to even trade John Morant. So I don't know what they're holding on to. I don't know what their plan is with him. I genuinely do not know. Because if his trade value was this low, he probably would have been gone already, right? They were trying to trade him at the trade deadline. Miami could literally send any of their players to try to get in John Morant. There's a lot of teams. Actually, I don't know because I don't know what teams would actually want John Morant other than like the Heat or the Wolves. So I don't know because you're kind of taking a chance on John Morant, even if you are trading away something that's insignificant. It's like you might as well just keep that insignificant piece rather than try to take a chance on John Morant and have it, flail. So I don't know. But yeah, those are all the NBA rumors I have. I'm sure there's going to be more rumors coming up in the next couple of days now that the finals are over. My fucking God, I can't speak today. Holy shit. Maybe I need to drink some water. I feel like words are not coming off my tongue as clean as they should. Pause. Yeah, so now I'm going to rank the last 8 NBA champions. Now, some of you might agree with my ranking. Some of you might not agree with my ranking. But guess what? It's mine. And as someone who knows ball, there are you can sort of convince yourselves for reasons why I have the rankings the way that they are. Now, honestly, I think my list is I think it's gonna be controversial. Uh, but you know what? Controversy gets clicks, and like I said, this is my list, and I'm also gonna be a little bit biased, but not. I don't have the Knicks 2026 Knicks number one. Let's get that out the way. I do not have them at number one. Um, but they're also not number eight either. So you just have to see. Uh, but yes, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up to from eight to one. For number eight, I have the 2022 Golden State Warriors. We all know in the last 8 years, this is probably the weakest team to win a championship. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. They all carried it. They all had great playoff runs. But we're not looking at this team like, yeah, they could beat the 2024 Celtics, or yeah, they could beat the 2025 Thunder. It was like one of those weird years where there was really no dominant team that you could like see them winning a championship. It's kind of like the Warriors just capitalized on an opportunity of their experience. Like the Suns, yeah, they won 64 games that year, but nobody was looking at them like this dominant team that was just going to run through the West playoffs, especially when you knew the Warriors were still right there with them. I think that year, like at Christmas time, the Warriors and the Suns had ridiculous records, and then the Suns just went off on that second half run that they did. But yeah, this is in the last 8 years one of the weakest teams to win. Steph Curry had to drop 43 for them to beat an inexperienced Celtics. Not No, that was literally the greatest game of Curry's career probably, so I'm not gonna diss that at all. And that game was phenomenal, and that series was phenomenal for some of it. But let's be real, that Warriors team was, and they even ran it. They literally ran the same roster back the year after that, and they lost in the second round. So to the Lakers. So definitely the weakest team out of these NBA champs. Um, Number 7, 2021 Bucks. Now, people would probably have them a lot higher. I don't know, but again, they run this team back the next year, lose in the second round. Honestly, that's a common theme for a lot of these teams. They win the championship and then they lose in the second round. So I can't really use that as a bar for this. But Giannis, he was amazing. But we also have to think of the context of the playoff run too. They beat a hobbled Brooklyn Nets team in 7 games, where it arguably looked like if they had lost that series, a lot of change would have happened anyway. Mike Budenholzer probably wouldn't have gotten fired. They beat an Atlanta Hawks team that surprised everyone, but it took them 6 games. And they were down 2-0 in the finals and won 4 straight, so got to give them the credit there. But no one was looking at this 2021 Bucks team. Like, yeah, the next year we all thought maybe they had a chance to repeat. I certainly didn't, but just one of the weaker teams. I don't really know what to really like. They had Giannis, Middleton was playing really good, Drew Holiday was good. They had PJ Tucker, they had Brook Lopez, but if you're like comparing them to these other teams, they weren't the 1 seed. They struggled in the playoffs a lot. And yeah, I can't rank them higher than 7. Number 6, people are gonna hate me for this. The 2025 Thunder. I'm sorry. I just think that SGA is amazing. Chet, he's cool. He's great. Is he honest? No. And yes, Shea is the best player in the team, so you're not comparing Chet to Giannis, obviously, as the best player, or whatever. But I just think this playoff run, I'm thinking more of the playoff run than anything. Yeah, they were a number 1 seed, and yeah, they dominated the West or whatever. But in the playoffs, they struggled against Denver. And Denver has arguably had the worst team had a worse team than when they won the championship the following year, and they still took the NBA champs to 7 games. I don't know why I put that in quotation marks. They were the champs, no quotation marks needed. Um, and I believe that, you know, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, they took the Nuggets to 7 games. Then they took the Pacers to 7 games, and I just can't rank them top 5 when you had 2 game 7s, won both of them obviously, but Pacers were one Achilles away from winning that series, so they could even be eliminated off this list just off of that. The Nuggets, I think they shouldn't have struggled with the Nuggets as much as they did, but the lack of shooting that they had really was just really bad. The lack of spacing. They didn't really face a good that entire run. They didn't face a good defensive team. So it was really they really got away with a lot of things during that playoffs, from their lack of spacing to the lack of, like, J-Dub was great, but teams, I don't know. I just think there are better teams on this list than the 2025 Thunder, and I think there are better playoff runs and things like that. So I don't think I can place them top 5. At number 5, you have the 2020 Lakers. Dominated the Western Conference during this pretty much the entire season. Even when they were playing in normal arenas, they were still dominating. Probably would have won like 60 to 65 games if it was um, not a shortened season. Dominated the playoffs, like I just said. Dominated the finals. And on paper, this team had exactly everything you would want a championship team to have: shooting, defense, wings, best player, and a really good Robin. And I just think that if they had kept the same team going into the next season, I think they would have won again. Probably would have been the first team to repeat, if not for getting rid of pretty much their entire roster from the championship team. And Anthony Davis was playing on a different level when he was healthy. He was basically healthy all year. LeBron James was still jumping out the gym. He's still jumping out of the gym now, but like this was like LeBron dominating the finals type. And yeah, I just didn't really see any other team during that playoff run even coming close to beating them. And I think they're better than the 2025 Thunder. I think they would run laps around that team. They're better than the Bucks, and they're better than the Warriors. So I mean that's just, but they're not better than the other 4 teams ahead of them. So they fit right in there at number 5. Number 4, we have the 2019 Raptors. This team had some crazy depth when you're talking about Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, Serge Ibaka. All 3 of those guys are coming off the bench who are starters on any other team. Then you have Kyle Lowry, who's not the Kyle Lowry when they were with DeRozan, where he was basically an all-star, all-NBA, whatever type talent. But he was that steady vet. He had some huge shots in the playoffs. You had Kawhi Leonard, who was arguably the best player that entire year. You had Danny Green, best 3-and-D guard, I guess, because he wasn't really a wing. You had Pascal Siakam before Pascal Siakam now, but he was still amazing. Marcus Gasol holding it down in the center position. And just the amount of depth and the amount of like good players on this team is really underestimated. And I'm saying all this to say they didn't even have OG Anunoby. And the run was just incredible. I mean, from beating the 76ers team to who we all thought were really, really good. They beat a number 1 seed Bucks. They beat the Warriors. Granted, they didn't have Kevin Durant, but they still beat them. And just the run that they had was just incredible. And I do think they are better than the Lakers. Just because I think Kawhi was on a different planet that entire year. And the supporting cast, I think was enough to get it done against the other 4 teams I had below them. Great team, not better than number 4 though. Number 3, I have my Knicks, and I just think I think I rank them this high because it feels like not that they're unbeatable, but they're also one of those teams where it's really hard to beat them 4 times in 7 games. Now all these teams are super hard to beat in 4 times out of 7 games. That's why they won NBA championships. But the Knicks, they go down in every game, and it doesn't matter. They dominate. They don't dominate, they win. They dominate, they win. They're down 29 in the NBA Finals, they win. They have arguably one of the most clutch players we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years. Their supporting cast works so well with the pieces that they have. And I think they, out of all these teams, they probably have the best coach. Like, I think if you compare maybe Steve Kerr, but like Steve Kerr's a great coach, but is he like one of those coaches that if you put on another team, they're gonna be the exact, like, they're gonna win? Like Mike Brown, this is 2 times he went as 3 times as a head coach. He's actually won, so he's put into different situations and he wins. So that's only a testament to him and not the product of his environment. And yeah, so for ranking coaches, he's better than Mike Budenholzer. He's better than Steve Kerr, in my opinion. He's better than Mark Daigneault. He's better than, who was the Lakers coach? Frank Vogel. He's better than Nick Nurse. He's better than Mike Malone, who I'll get to. And he's better than, well, this year, Joe Mazzulla was better. But overall, history of the NBA, career-wise, I would take Mike Brown. And yeah, I don't know. Like, these other teams, you just don't have a matchup. Like, the Knicks have one of those players where no team really has a good matchup for Cat. Like, you could say that for a lot of these teams where, Giannis, nobody has a really good matchup for Giannis. Curry, nobody has a really good matchup with Curry. But Cat is one of those centers that it's like you can't even scheme against because, like, he'll do so many different things. He'll drive to the basket. He'll shoot threes. He'll post up. He'll do it all. And so having a 3-level scorer as a center is ridiculous. And the run is really what carries us. 16-3 in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? They are, let me put this into perspective. They are 1 Donald Trump and 2 CJ McCollum game winners away from being 16-0. 16-0. No losses. Point differential of plus 283. Didn't lose a game in over 2 months of basketball in the postseason. Their combined losses are by 6 points total. One of the greatest playoff runs we will ever see. And that's why they're number 3. Number 2, I mentioned Mike Malone. 2023 Nuggets. I know everybody likes to, discredit this team because they didn't play. They played play-in teams for their run and straight up just dominated the play-in teams. So it's like the Knicks. Like, you can only play who's in front of you. Knicks just dominated the Eastern Conference. But this Nuggets team has Jokic. Jokic is, I talked about Cat. Jokic is the hardest player to scheme against offensively. We saw the Timberwolves. They did a really good job on Jokic, but still went 7 games. It could have went either way because the Nuggets were up 20 in Game 7 and just blew it. This supporting cast, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown. Uh, yeah, no, this team was absolutely nuts, and you could argue have them way too high. They should definitely be lower. But I'm just thinking about like Jokic, man. Like he's one of the best bigs we've seen, like since Shaq. There's no stopping him. And the year they won the championship was the best roster that they had. I know they were talking about this year that this is the best supporting cast that he had, but I think the year that they won, everybody was just clicking at the right time. And I don't know, I can't put them lower than like, even on a list like this, I can't put them lower than like 3 or 4 just because off of Jokic alone. Number one, 2024 Celtics. Incredible run. One of the most dominant teams since like the Warriors. I mean the Kevin Durant Warriors. They averaged like 16 threes a game, just dominating the entire playoffs. Now, was their run better than the Knicks' run? It's an argument, but the Knicks' run was just better. But the 2024 Celtics were just a team where they literally had like no holes. No, they had good wings, good shooting, good defense, athleticism. They had it all. And I personally think they would beat every single team on this list, probably in 5 to 6 games. And yeah, I just don't see any other team messing with them. But yeah, that's my ranking for the last 8 NBA champs. If you agree with any of them, let me know. If you disagree with me having the Nuggets way too high, I think that was the most controversial one that's up here. And there might be more controversial opinions about this list. But yeah, just let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on your rankings for the last 8 NBA champs. You might have, y'all might have the 25 Thunder #1. I don't know. But yeah, going from that to early power rankings for 2026, 2027. I only did the first 5 teams. Gonna do the rest later. I just figured it'd be good to give the top 5 teams that I think going into next season will be good. And yeah, I'll just start. I'll go from the bottom, from number 5 to number 1. Number 5, we have the Pistons. I think the Pistons will make moves to get more shooting and get more self-creation outside of Cade. I think that's going to be one of their main priorities other than re-signing Duren. I think Duren will be better in the playoffs next year. But just going into next season, I just can't name 5 teams that are going to be better than the Pistons, considering they were #1 in the East this year. And yeah, that's pretty much the argument for them. Number 4, Celtics. Jason Tatum's coming back. Could trade for Giannis, or just could keep Jaylen Brown. Maybe upgrade the center position, or maybe keep the same team and still be a number 2 seed next year. They're gonna be. I'd be shocked if they weren't like at least in the second round next year or Eastern Conference Finals. Like I think their floor is like second round Eastern Conference Finals. So by default, that means they're like the 4th, 5th best team in the league. Spurs, number 3. Yes, they went to the NBA Finals. Yes, they have Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be DPOY for the next 10, 15 years. Probably should be on your MVP, top 3 in MVP ballot going to next season, right off the bat. Yes, Dylan Harper is going to ascend into a star. Still have Castle. Mitch Johnson is going to be better next year as a coach. But I just can't put them ahead of the Thunder or the Knicks. The Knicks beat them in the finals, so you can't put the Spurs ahead of them. Even though you project the Spurs will be better anyway. But also you could do the same for the Knicks. They could be better next year too. And they won in 7 games against Thunder, but it didn't feel like they're so much better than the Thunder. Well, obviously because they went 7 games, so they're not obviously much better. But also, I don't know about y'all, but I genuinely have that feeling that if AJ Mitchell and J-Dub played, they win that series, and they give the Knicks a really, really hard time in the finals. Now that's neither here or there because they were injured, so you can't really know for sure 100%. But going to next season, I just think if you get a healthy J-Dub for the entire season, AJ Mitchell can still get better, and the Thunder can still make moves. Like it's not like they're gonna run back the same roster. I don't think they can. Probably gonna get rid of Lou Dort. Gonna have to restructure Isaiah Hartenstein's contract to keep him or just let him walk. Like, yeah, no, this roster is gonna be different. It's gonna be better for sure. And you still have Shea. So there's no reason for me to think that they're not gonna be the number one seed again and that the Spurs are gonna be better than the Thunder. But with that said, in number two I have the Knicks. Gonna be the best team in the East next year. Gonna be probably their floor next year is Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. I mean, you could go as far as say their floor should be NBA Finals, but it, as we see in this run, it takes so much luck and so much everything to go your way for you to make the NBA Finals and to win it. So you can't just automatically put another team in the finals. I think we did that with the Thunder this year, and everything just didn't go their way. So can't automatically do that. And then number one, obviously Thunder, for all the reasons I just explained. And yeah, you could go down the list 6 through 30 for the rest of the teams. I'm going to do that later. But that's where more of the NBA like analysis comes in for each team and what their ranking will be. For the top 5, it's kind of easy. I mean, there's not really much basketball to be talked about for the top 5 because unless like things go horribly wrong for any of these teams and they fall in these rankings, I'm pretty sure that this is like the the odds for the finals to be is going to be in this order anyway. So, and yeah, now we're going to transition to WNBA talk. Now, if you know, as you guys know, the NBA season is over and there's not really much basketball to talk as far as like on the court because no one's playing on any courts anymore and we're just going to have to wait till next year. And most of this summer is going to be about off-season talk and projecting. And I have other different topics to talk about. But yeah, WNBA, that's the basketball that's going on right now. And I want to get more into it. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, I've watched more WNBA. And I've, grown to like the sport. I've grown to like the players. I know a lot more about the league now. And having appreciation for just another way to watch hoops, another basketball. It's just an amazing sport, whether it's women playing or men playing. It's just a great sport, and I want to talk more about the WNBA in my podcast. Holy shit, can I fucking talk today? Like, can I genuinely fucking talk? Like, this is getting ridiculous. Well, this is why I need to do a podcast so I can talk to people better and talk in general better. But anyway, WNBA. Oh my god. WNBA talk. Olivia Miles. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I can't really put into words how great she is. Like, obviously, yes, I can go into the stats and the analysis, but she is by far my favorite player to watch. She's a rookie, clear cut favorite for Rookie of the Year, and what she's doing is just special. Not only because she's black, but because she is like she's so cool. She Whoa, 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 whoa. The Bulls are finalizing hire of Tiago Splitter as their head coach. Oh my god, what? The Bulls are hiring Tiago Splitter as their head coach. No, Blazers, why? I mean, we all knew they couldn't pay him because of that cheap ass owner over there, but damn. But for the Bulls, that's really good though. That's really, really good though. I like that. I like that for the Bulls. Because we saw what he did with the Blazers roster, super young roster. Had a couple vets on the team, but otherwise, super young roster. And he made the most out of it when Chauncey Billups got fired and he got them to the play in. Oh my god. I thought he was going to be a Blazers coach though, low key. But I'm actually not mad for the Bulls. I'm actually happy for the Bulls. I think that was the best coach available probably. Damn. Okay. I just got sidetracked for a second. Um yeah, Olivia Miles. She's so cool. She is like the definition of like when when you get overlooked. AZ Fudd, AZ Fudd, AZ Fudd, number one pick. Nah, Olivia Miles is her. Let me just throw out some stats. She's averaging 19 points. Keep in mind as a rookie, by the way, on the best team in the league. The Lynx. 19 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. She is the point guard, by the way. When a couple years ago in the finals, when I was watching the Lynx versus Liberty, and I was, not criticizing Courtney Williams, but it looked like she was trying to do everything out there. I did not know she was not playing. She was playing out of position. She's not a point guard. She's a shooting guard. So that was cool to know, and that's why they drafted Olivia Miles. So yeah, 19 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Her shooting splits: 50% from the field, 53% to be exact. 39% from 3, which is basically 40%. I'm just gonna round up. 92% from the free throw line. So she's averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 50, 40, 90 splits as a rookie. Isn't that crazy? And her game is just so smooth. You can never speed her up. You can never slow her down. She moves at her own pace. She literally plays like Luka Doncic. Like genuinely no cap. Like her game mirrors like Luka Doncic. But she shoots way better efficiency wise than Luka. So, but she's doing this as a rookie. And Collier hasn't even played the game yet, and so I can just imagine what that duo is gonna look like. My God, as a Liberty fan, I'm scared. I'm already scared because they're the best team without her, Nafisa. But adding her back that's gonna be nasty. But yeah, my favorite player to watch so far, and should be on everyone's radar now. Clear cut, robbed of being number one pick, but whatever. Another storyline for the league. The expansion teams are all doing good. The Toronto Tempo, and the Portland Fire are both new teams in the league this year. And I think the league is getting 2 more teams in 2027 or 2028. I think Philadelphia and Cleveland. And also the Valkyries are doing really good. So the Valkyries are in 5. The Toronto Tempo are 7-7 at 500. And the Portland Fire is 7-8. Those are 3 expansion teams in the last 2 years that are either in the playoff mix or right outside the playoff mix. So that just shows you that the league is growing. These teams are going to be good. And it's just good for the league to have more teams and have those teams actually be decent. Because it gives them an incentive to, do more. And obviously the CBA helped with the players and contracts and things like that. So it's just good to see that the league is growing and that these expansion teams are doing as good as they are. The Lynx and the Aces are at the top of the West. The Lynx are 10-3. The Aces are 10-3. Nafisa Collier hasn't played a game yet, which is scary. And the Aces, no matter what, anything bad you can say about the Aces, or they had a fluke run last year. Nah, they're just that good. And as much as I clown on, well, actually, I will continue to clown on Becky Hammond for saying that about Jalen Brunson, about him not being a 1A. But she's a decent coach. She's not like, I feel like she's like Steve Kerr, where it's like she's a good coach, but if you put her on another team, are they gonna win three championships in 4 years? Probably not. I think she's just a product of her environment, and it's not a bad thing because she still has to coach at the end of the day. She still has to manage all those personalities and all those vets in the locker room. So she's doing a good job. But those two teams are the teams that should be the favorite to win the WNBA championship. Now, I love that they made the finals a 7-game series. And I kind of forgot that because last year when Asia Wilson in game 3 hit the game winner, I was like, damn, she really won the series on a game winner. I was like, oh, wait, they have one more game. And they ended up sweeping the Mercury, which the Mercury aren't that good anymore after losing some of their players. But yeah, the Lynx Aces should definitely be at the top of people's report as far as being at the top of the West. But you still have the teams like the Liberty and the Atlanta Dream holding serve. They're both of those teams are right there. The Liberty are 10-4. The Dream are 9-3. So they're not out of it completely. And there are areas where the Liberty can get better. The Liberty and the Lynx are one of the top 2 defensive teams in the league. So I knew going into it that the Liberty were going to be a really good defensive team because they got Lainey Hamilton back, really good defender. Fibich, really good defender. Stewart, great defender. Jones, good defender. Sabali is a really good defender. And you can make up for Sabrina and Astier and all these other small guards that they have on the team. The Liberty have bigger wings, so it's going to be the playoffs this year are going to be popping. These teams are going to fight to the death. I can see a lot of these series and teams going the distance. I can see the finals going 7 games, and it's going to be crazy. And I hope the Liberty come out on top, but there's no guarantees anymore. But they have a lot of work to do, but they are still dominating. They are, number 1 in the Commissioner's Cup, which is like the NBA Cup. It doesn't really mean anything as far as like end of season stuff goes. But yeah, the league is in good hands for sure. And everyone likes to clown on the WNBA, and it's unwatchable, and these games are like, even me as an example, at the beginning of the season, those games were so boring. They were slowing down the game so much because the refs had so much of a handle on the game, and they let the players play. At one point, they let the players play too physical, and then another point, they just review every little thing on the court, and it's like, how can you even watch these games? And so recently, I've gotten back into WNBA. If I mess up that word one more fucking time, WNBA. Stop clowning on it. These teams are good. These women are good. Stop sleeping. Lynx are my favorite team outside of Liberty. Olivia Miles, you keep doing you. You're like Jalen Brunson. I'll keep riding with you all the way. Yeah, that's the end of the episode. I will see you guys on Wednesday, and we'll have more off-season talk. Hopefully more rumors other than the Bulls firing or finding their new head coach. Yeah. Peace.